Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I am Susan Campbell. Today, I have a special guest host with me.
Susan!
Paul Horton is here.
Oh, my goodness. I feel like I'm Gary Harper in here. This is good
so
stuff.
much fun.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Oh, my goodness. So I asked you to be on the podcast, and you said, sure. And then you said, what are we talking about?
Yeah, come on.
You agreed before you even had any idea. And then I said, this is the wildest story you've ever heard.
Yes.
People accidentally got into robots.
This is crazy because I've got one of these vacuums at my house.
Not this brand.
Not
but
this
you
brand.
Have, yeah.
I wish I had this brand because the more you hear about it, it's pretty.
It kind of
pretty
looks
intense.
like it does some fancy, cool things.
Mm-hmm.
But it does bring up so many privacy concerns and interesting discussions. Other than the vacuum, do you have a smart home?
We do. I mean, we have speakers around the house. We've got the Google and the Sonos speakers, and you always wonder if they're listening in the Nest, up for our doorbell and all those things. So yeah, we are turning into a smart home.
You're a little bit techie, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have that many things. We have the Ring doorbell, and we have a smart thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
That really is only helpful to have my kids ask Alexa to play music, and they have figured out how to do that. And they have a blast asking her to play.
Is it the same song every time too? Practically.
Sometimes.
Yeah, that's what
I've
happens
at
with
least
ours.
coached them that they need to ask for Backstreet Boys or something. So their friends don't think their music taste is cool, but
Yes.
I do. Yeah, but we're not super smart home techie, but I love learning about it. I love seeing it. This article though just caught my attention. We want to bring in Mack DeGeurin. Mack is a tech reporter, wrote this article for Popular Science. You caught my attention just in the headline. Man accidentally gains control of 7,000 robot vacuums.
What?
Tell me everything. Walk me through what happened, how this happened. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the worst fear people worry about with the smart homes, right? I mean, this is something that, researchers have been worried about hypothetically for a while, and now we have an example of it actually happening. So basically, in a nutshell, this AI hobbyist really in France named Sami Asifal, he bought one of these robot vacuum cleaners from DJI, and he wanted to see if he could kind of find a way to make it work and roam around his house using a PlayStation controller. So to do that, he used an AI coding tool and kind of what he calls reverse engineered the code to basically get the servers that DJI controls to grant him access to his robot. But instead of just giving him access to his robot, the server gave him access to somewhere around the order of 7,000 robots around the world.
When you say it gave him access, what do you actually mean? Is he being able to peer into people's homes? Is he seeing what's going on in somebody's bedroom? What is happening here?
So at least I will say DJI says they've patched this now, but at the time he was able to look directly into the live cameras of all of these robots. So imagine, if either y'all, you said you do have a home robot. If it's in your bedroom, if it's in your bathroom, potentially you could see that live camera feed. It could also access the microphones. So anything that robot could see, he could see.
Whoa.
That's a little freaky.
So this was originally reported by The Verge because he actually happened to be a good guy, and he said, I should not have access to this. And he reached out and reported this to a reporter and said, I don't want to have access to 7,000 people's homes, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And that's, it should be clear that DJI has said that they don't have any evidence that someone tampered with this material. There's been a patch now. But it raises a concern because, he was able to get that access and this isn't something that's necessarily limited to DJI. Researchers in the past have warned that all types of smart home devices there's not a set standard for security. So there's a worry that this could happen for any number of other devices.
Are there any other type of items that we should be looking out for? I mentioned some Sonos speakers at my house or the Nest cameras. I mean, do those have potential of getting, hacked?
Well, so I would say in this particular example, there's a distinction where it's not necessarily any hacking that went on. This was a security vulnerability that was out in the open, right? So the Sammy, the person involved, didn't actually have to go in and do any hacking. And that same thing can be true of other smart home devices as well. But I think the most practical thing that people can keep in mind is you should always update these devices, because the new firmware updates patch a lot of the vulnerabilities that could result in this. And then other common basic things like having strong passwords, using multi-factor authentication. Those are like the basic things that you can do to protect yourself. But there's always a concern, particularly with these smart home devices, that there can be a vulnerability because there's just not really strong laws governing it, and they're in such sensitive areas of your home that make them, attractive to potential bad actors.
So I want to talk. I want to stick on this original this case of this robot vacuum. So he wanted to control it with a PlayStation controller. Obviously, like that's not something that I know how to do, right? Like this guy was a tech guy to begin with. Can you fathom his surprise when all of a sudden he sees this security vulnerability and is going, "Oh my goodness, what happened here?" Did you get a sense of how immediate it was that he realized, whoa, something went seriously wrong here? There is a serious security vulnerability.
Yeah, I mean, this guy in particular, he does work in AI at a company, so he did know what he was looking at. Like that, he immediately contacted The Verge, and they did like the proper steps because it was pretty obvious. But if you're just a regular user, one, you probably aren't going to be going the extra mile to try and control it with a controller, maybe not. But even if you did, it's hard to tell, like, if you just a random person would necessarily know what they're looking at.
Yeah, how did he hack into it? He used AI?
Not hack.
Okay, it wasn't hack. I'm sorry.
Not hack. He discovered by accident a security vulnerability.
What did he use to accidentally get in there? It was through AI, is that right?
So in this case, he was using Anthropic's Claude Code.
Oh boy, this
tool.
Guy's smart.
And, again, this is something that, like, if you don't have any AI background, it's not necessarily like anyone could do it, but it's a lot easier than, what would have had to be done in the past, which is you go through all this source code. Basically, the AI agent just like made it much faster and easier to find the vulnerability.
Okay, this is scaring me.
Well, you think about, people have so many cameras, microphones, things in their homes already attached to all of these smart devices. There is most certainly a race to be technologically advanced, and all this technology is piling into our homes. There's more smart home technology. I've covered CES before, what was formerly known as the Consumer Electronics Show.
Once a year.
And you see the robots that walk around people's homes,
so cool.
All these prototypes for these really cool things. But it is so important to talk about the potential privacy issues. And in your article, Mac, you mentioned that this kind of was dovetailing and happening at the same time that there was a Super Bowl commercial about Ring, and that people got really concerned with because Ring was advertising that you could help your neighbors find their lost dog. But there were a lot of people going, whoa, whoa, whoa. You have access to my Ring camera. I don't know that I want to give up that privacy. And then we have the Nancy Guthrie case and the Nest camera on her home. We've been covering that case every single day here.
Yes, we have.
We thought that video had been deleted, and then it turns
didn't
out
pay for the
there
subscription,
was video that was recoverable in the back end. And again, people are going, whoa, wait a second. How much privacy have I actually given up along the way? Mac, I would love you to just jump in and talk about some of these privacy issues that have come up.
Yeah, it's interesting. It really does. We've seen this before. It takes those big national issues like you just mentioned to kind of make people stop and realize how far we've come in terms of the privacy we've given up. With these smart home devices, it's not that necessarily there's glaring holes with every single device you buy. In fact, many of them are quite secure. The problem is just that because there's so many different companies all operating under different standards, it's hard to know exactly what you're working with. And there's no federal privacy law in the United States governing all of these devices. So when there is an issue, it's tricky to remedy it. But I think it's telling that the climate is shifting a bit, where this story and the other ones you mentioned are getting more traction, because I think people are starting to realize kind of the trade-offs that come with putting these smart home devices in your house.
You mentioned some of the things that we can do as consumers if we want the smart home, but we also want the privacy piece of that to be intact. I don't want somebody else in my home.
Yeah.
That is horrifying to me. Let's go through that really fast again, because I think that's such important information for people, and I don't want to gloss over it.
Sure. Yeah. The biggest thing with so many of these devices is, even though it's really annoying, you might constantly get pinged for an update. You need to update this, update that. You really should do it, because those updates, one of the biggest things they do is patch some of these vulnerabilities that hackers or good faith actors have discovered. The other thing is just common sense things like having strong passwords, but also always using multi-factor authentication when you have it. That's still kind of, to the privacy thing we spoke about before, that's still not required by any laws most of the time. So if you're not doing it yourself, you might not assume that it's already in place. Yeah, and then other than that, I think just updating really is the most important thing.
How do you know when your device, like I've got a vacuum, a little robotic vacuum in my house, how do I know when the robotic vacuum needs an upgrade?
That's a good question. I mean, it would depend on your specific device, but if you operate it through an app, usually the app will have a section in there that tells you, are you up to date? And a lot of times they'll ping you through an email or something like that too.
Yeah.
To let you know.
It's such a good question, because it's one of those things you don't think about. Maybe it's something you get, you install it in your house. Maybe it's a Christmas gift. You let it go. It's roaming all over the house.
Had it for 3 years.
And then all of a sudden, like, oh yeah.
Don't even think I have an upgrade.
I think you might need an upgrade. He's gone 3 years without it. How many upgrades has he missed along the way, Mac?
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, there might be some work there to do.
I'm going to put some duct tape over the camera today.
It's going to just keep bouncing into the same wall.
Wait a minute.
Oh my goodness. Mac, how smart is your home?
Ironically, as a tech writer, my house is very dumb. I purposely kind of keep things pretty low tech, mainly because I'm aware of some of these issues, but also I just like to kind of have some detachment from tech I write about.
That's
we
so
should take
fascinating.
note from Mac.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I mean, my house is pretty dumb, but it's just by accident. It's not because I was taking a stand against anything. If I could have a robot that would do the dishes and do the laundry, I would give up all the privacy in the world. Like, come live with me. Come look into my life. Do the dishes and the laundry, please.
That would be so nice.
What would your robot do?
Same thing. Dishes. Maybe wash the car out front.
Ooh, that's
Wouldn't
a good
that be
one.
nice? Yeah. Mac, we were looking up this robot that this guy hacked into.
Not hacked.
No, darn it. Gosh. Okay. Got into accidentally with his AI codes and all that stuff. Didn't hack him. This is actually a pretty fancy device and pretty expensive.
Yeah, I mean, from all things I've read reviews, it's actually quite a good vacuum. Just in terms of pure performance, it's very good. It's actually not available in the US yet. It's a Chinese developer, but they're trying to get it available here. Yeah, I mean, if you want something that will just be on and mess with your pets and clean up the house all day, it's a good option.
So fun. You brought up in your article too, you did also talk about some of these devices being Chinese made and some of the potential concerns that have been raised with security issues for specifically Chinese made devices. Yeah,
so this company in particular, DJI, they've kind of been at the forefront of this issue, not for the vacuum cleaner necessarily, but more for their drones, because they make by far the largest supply of consumer, like hobbyist drones. And those have been come under fire from this current administration and past administrations, basically with the idea that it could be a national security risk, or they have certain privacy vulnerabilities that are more that you care about more if it's coming from China. That doesn't necessarily apply to the home robot, but it does cloud any Chinese manufactured smart home device with more scrutiny. And in terms of like how, what's the evidence behind all that? It's mixed, I would say. There's not any like clear evidence yet that these are particularly more vulnerable than any other device. I got to get your gut reaction when you heard about this and you start writing about it and researching it. What was going through your mind? Well, I think this was kind of something that was in the ether that people were worrying about for so long. And it was, to me, the clearest, like, visual example of this big concern that people have had with smart homes is happening. And also, it just, as someone I said I would have a pretty dumb house, but I have been considering a home robot, a home vacuum cleaner, and it kind of made me pump the brakes on that, I would say.
I love it. Mack, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
This was such a good, informative conversation, a little peek into the future. Now everybody knows I want a robot that'll do my laundry. But I think it also gave us a lot of good advice moving forward. Really quickly, if people want to find you or any of your other work, your other articles, shout out some social media or websites where we can find you.
Sure. I write for Popular Science, and I'm also on Twitter at Mack DeGeurin. And those are the two main places you can find me. So.
Thank you, Mack.
Thank you so much for your time. This was a really fun conversation.
I'm just thinking what, if anybody got into my vacuum, what they'd be listening to at my house. And it would be, Simon and the Chipmunks. And
do you have a good voice?
Well, just all crazy types of music. Annie, we were just playing last night for a movie. So they wouldn't be thoroughly entertained in our house and nothing too exciting.
We always joke around, Steve and I always joke around about he calls plays on if we're watching a football game or something.
I'd love to hear that.
He'll say something. He's like, oh my gosh, da, 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 da. And then like a minute later, the commentator, the announcer will say the exact same thing. And we always kind of like joke around, like, get out of our house. But like, I know they're not listening to what Steve has to say about sports. He's not that cool.
Maybe Steve has a future as a play-by-play person here.
I don't know. But yeah, we always joke, like you joke about.
They're listening.
But like, maybe somebody is.
Ugh.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can. Send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile news app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock, and every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.